With the addition of a new number one wide receiver and some other offensive weapons to help Josh Allen, could Josh Allen break the Buffalo Bills' single season passing record? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Billievers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to another edition of Could It Happen Buffalo Sports, where we take a look at a hot take in Buffalo sports and we ask ourselves, could it happen? Again, thank you guys for joining me on Billievers Talk. My name is Joe. If you are new to this channel, guys, please be sure to hit that subscribe button for continuing up-to-date Buffalo Bills and Buffalo Sabres news. We kind of keep you updated on all Buffalo sports. Also, while you're here, hit that thumbs up button. Let me know you like the content and leave a comment. Tell me what you think about the topic at hand today, which in this episode, we're going to talk about Josh Allen. We're going to ask ourselves, could it happen? Could Josh Allen break the Buffalo Bills' single season passing record for passing yards in a season? So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you some numbers, compare 2019 Josh Allen to 2018 Josh Allen, and also look at some of the players in 2019 that we can look at maybe comparables if Josh Allen wants to break the single season passing record for the Buffalo Bills. But before we do that, we want to get into what is the single season passing record for the Buffalo Bills. So in 2002, Drew Bledsoe set the passing record as far as passing yards for the Buffalo Bills with 4,359 yards in that season. Or if you break that down to per game, you divide that by 16 games, that's 272.43 yards per game. And that's going to be a very important number as we look ahead in this episode to see if Josh Allen can break that number. But again, let me know in the comment section, do you think Josh Allen could break the single season passing record for the Buffalo Bills? Or do you think that we just don't have that type of team? And we're going to talk about that a little bit as well, because not only do we have to think about Josh Allen compared to the type of players or quarterbacks that have broken that record or made that many passing yards in a season, we also have to look at the teams that have done it too. We have to look at the different teams that the Buffalo Bills have had over the years and the other teams that other NFL teams have had, and see what the comparables are and see where Josh Allen would rank in those comparables to see if he has a chance to break that record. So first, we want to talk about 2019. In order to take a look at the possibility of Josh Allen breaking 4,359 yards in a single season, I wanted to see how easy it was to do or how hard it was to do by year, right? So if you look at 2019, because we all know that the NFL is becoming more and more of a passing league each season. So how will that benefit Josh Allen as he goes to break this record? So if you look at 2019, there were 5 quarterbacks who broke the single season record for the Buffalo Bills. If these 5 quarterbacks would have played for the Buffalo Bills and put up the same numbers last season, then they would hold the single season passing record for the Buffalo Bills. Those 5 quarterbacks are Jameis Winston, who threw for 5,000 yards last season, 5,109 yards. Dak Prescott, 4,902 yards. Jared Goff threw for 4,638 yards. Phillip Rivers, 4,615 yards. And Matt Ryan threw for 4,466 yards. So those were the 5 quarterbacks that would have broken the record if they would play for the Buffalo Bills and if they were to put up that same stat line in 2019, if they were to play for the Buffalo Bills and not play for their respective teams. Now we got to take a look at Josh Allen, right? What kind of numbers has Josh Allen put up in his first 2 seasons with the Buffalo Bills? Are there any indications that he can meet that 4,300 yard marker and give Drew Bledsoe a run for his money when it comes to the single season Buffalo Bills record? In 2018, Josh Allen only played in 12 games. If you remember, at the beginning of 2018, after we drafted Josh Allen, we started with Nathan Peterman. Why did we start with Nathan Peterman? Obviously was a failed experiment. Sean McDermott's first year in the league as an NFL head coach. Kind of messed up a little bit there, right? He liked the guy out of Pitt, drafted him in the 5th round, I believe, the previous year. So he was excited to see what he could do at the helm. Obviously, that did not work out for the Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen comes in and starts week 3. I believe he comes in week 2 against Baltimore, starts week 3, but then he gets hurt against the Houston Texans, misses a few games there. So he plays in 12 games, only throws for 2,074 yards that season, or an average of 172.83 yards per game. So if you look at 2018 compared to the Buffalo Bills leader as far as passing yards go, you're talking about about 100 yards more per game that Josh Allen would have to throw for. In 2002, Drew Bledsoe threw for 272 yards, 272.43 yards to be exact per game. And in 2018, Josh Allen threw for 172.833 yards per game. So almost a full 100 yards per game Josh Allen would have to throw for more in 2020 if he were to go for that record. Now, he did improve a lot in 2019. It's well documented how well Josh Allen improved. In fact, he threw for 3,089 yards in 2019 and played in all 16 games. So if you break that down to how many yards per game Josh Allen threw for, that breaks down to 193 yards per game, just a little bit more than that, 193.0625 yards per game. So that is an improvement of 20 yards per game between 2018 and 2019. So that's a good marker, but again, you're still talking about a guy who would be almost 70 yards short of what he would need to do to make that 2002 Drew Bledsoe mark of 4,359 yards. Now, I know a lot of people are excited about this Buffalo Bills offense, and as well you should be. You talk about the addition of Stephon Diggs, a true #1 receiver for Josh Allen. Obviously, going to open up the field a little bit more and potentially give Josh Allen a chance for more passing yards. You talk about the addition of our draft picks. You talk about getting younger receivers in there, maybe a good slot receiver and Hodgins in there who might be able to give Josh Allen better weapons downfield. Talk about the addition of Dawson Knox. Hopefully in his second year, he'll be more reliable as a target. Zach Moss, maybe catching a few balls out of the backfield. Devin Singletary could be more productive in his second year. And of course, you still have John Brown and Cole Beasley, who both had outstanding seasons last year for the Buffalo Bills. So everyone takes a look at all these weapons and say, hey, the Buffalo Bills could have a potential elite offense. But does an elite offense necessarily mean that Josh Allen's going to be throwing for a whole bunch of yards, going to be throwing for over 300 yards per game? Because let's not forget, Josh Allen has yet to throw for over 300 yards in a single game in his NFL career. Now, again, I don't think that stat's that important. All I care about are wins and losses. But if you're asking yourself, can Josh Allen become the single season passing leader for the Buffalo Bills, you have to ask yourself, can Josh Allen be given the opportunity to throw for over 272 yards per game? So let's break it down. We talked about the 5 quarterbacks that threw for over 4,359 yards in 2019. Jameis Winston, Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Phillip Rivers, and Matt Ryan. Well, we have to take a look at those players on their respective teams and see if they run schemes similar or very different to the Buffalo Bills. And guys, when it comes to passing offense, these 5 guys are in a very pass-happy offense. Now, I know in the league it's definitely more pass-heavy, but these 5 guys, these 5 teams that they play for, talking about the Buccaneers, Cowboys, Rams, Chargers, and Falcons, they pass the ball a whole lot more than the Buffalo Bills. In fact, these 5 guys, they are all in the top 6 as far as passing attempts in the NFL in 2019. In fact, Phillip Rivers, out of those 5, had the least amount of pass attempts with 591 pass attempts thrown in 2019. How many pass attempts did Josh Allen have in 2019? Well, he actually only threw the ball 461 times, which was good for 21st in the NFL. So he threw the ball 130 times less than Phillip Rivers, who had the least amount of pass attempts out of the top 5 in the top 5 passing yards thrown in 2019 out of the 5 quarterbacks who threw it. So you're talking about a 130 pass difference. That's a huge difference. Even if you're only completing 58% of the passes, that's still over 65 balls completed that could be added to Josh Allen's yardage numbers, right? So when you take a look at the Bills' offense, you say, yes, they added all these weapons, but how much is that going to change Brian Daboll's system, Brian Daboll's way of thinking of, hey, we need to be a run-heavy team, run the ball, and then pass the ball a little less than most of the teams in the NFL. Again, 21st in the league in 2019 with only 461 pass attempts. So that means the Buffalo Bills were below the league average as far as pass attempts per season. Now you look at the 5 guys we mentioned before as far as in 2019 passing 4,359 yards. And we want to take a look at completion percentage, because not only are these guys throwing the ball more, they're throwing the ball more efficiently than Josh Allen did. Now, this is a little bit closer of a number, and we're hoping that in 2020, Josh Allen's completion percentage can be above what the lowest completion percentage is out of the 5 guys that were in the top 5 in passing yards in 2019. And that belongs to the top guy, actually. That belongs to Jameis Winston, who only completed 60.7% of his passes, so just over 60%. However, as many of us know, if you look at Josh Allen, he finished 32nd in the league in completion percentage with only completing 58.8% of his passes, still almost 2 percentage points less than Jameis Winston. So he would need to improve his completion percentage by a whole lot more than 2% if they're only going to throw the ball 461 times. If they're only going to throw the ball 461 times, you're really looking at Josh Allen's completion percentage having to be up in that 67-68% range to be able to compete with some of the guys with those higher numbers in 2019. Now, you take a look at this list and you look at Jameis Winston, you look at Jared Goff, and you say, you know what? Josh Allen can be a better quarterback than those guys, and I completely agree with you. I think he can. I'm not sure where he would equal as far as Dak Prescott, Phillip Rivers, or Matt Ryan goes. I think he can reach those guys as far as potential, but he's not quite there yet. But as far as Jameis Winston goes, a guy who threw 30 interceptions last season, and as far as Jared Goff goes, a guy who led a team that he took to the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they were 7-9 last season, I think that Josh Allen could compete when you talk about best quarterbacks in the league with those type of guys. Now, again, Josh Allen's nowhere near the 5,000 plus yard mark, so I think you have to give a little bit of an edge to Jameis Winston. But another thing that Josh Allen has on these guys that they don't have as much is the ability to run the ball, right? Josh Allen had the most rushing TDs among quarterbacks last season with 10. That is a huge feat for any quarterback in the NFL. Had more than Lamar Jackson even did last season. He was second as far as QB yards, only behind Lamar Jackson, who broke Michael Vick's record for rushing yards by a quarterback in a season. So even though we enjoyed that as a Buffalo Bills fan, it adds a different element to his game. Also takes away from potential passing plays, right? The more times he runs the ball, the less yardage there is on the field to get, hopefully, because we're hoping he gets positive yardage, and also the less plays there are to be passing the ball. So you take a look at those things, and you also say, hey, we have to deduct passes from him there, also deduct maybe passing yards. If you're looking at Josh Allen and you're saying, hey, he needs to get 4,359 all-purpose yards, I'm with you there. I say, hey, that's a good mark, right? But that's adding somewhere between 600 and 800 rushing yards to that total each season, and that's why I think it's going to be very hard for Josh Allen in 2020 to break the Buffalo Bills single-season passing yards mark, which is set at 4,359 yards by Drew Bledsoe. So again, let's take a look at some of the numbers for Josh Allen in 2019. In 2019, Josh Allen was 32nd in completion percentage at 58.8%. He was 21st in attempts with 461 pass attempts. He was 23rd in yards with 3,089 yards. So we're asking to move up from 23rd all the way up to 5th. I think that's a little bit of a stretch. You guys can let me know if you think I'm wrong in the comment section, but I'm looking at Josh Allen to break 3,500 yards next season, and that will get me excited. If he breaks 3,500 passing yards next season, again, runs for anywhere between 600 and 800 yards, those would be the numbers that I would expect from Josh Allen. Maybe 62, 63% completion percentage, really improve that number a little bit as well. But I don't see the Buffalo Bills going away from their overall scheme just because they added a true number one wide receiver. Now, that could be impacted by the Buffalo Bills schedule. You look at the Buffalo Bills schedule, we play some teams that could score some points, right? Look at the Chiefs, the Seahawks, the 49ers. These are teams that can score some points and who you want to be able to jump on early if you have a chance to beat them. Again, the Steelers, even the Ravens, these are teams, we don't play the Ravens, but still, these are teams that can score a lot of points, and you want to make sure that you can combat that in some way. And so maybe that will help the Buffalo Bills open up the passing game a little bit. But again, you're talking about 130 pass attempts, okay? So even if he goes up to, let's say, goes up to 520 pass attempts, still 71 pass attempts short of Phillip Rivers, who again had the least of the five who broke that 4,359 yard mark in 2019. He was 26th in yards per attempt with 6.7 yards per attempt. So those numbers would have to go up as well. Each one of the guys in the top five last season were better than that. The worst of the five was Matt Ryan with 7.3 yards per attempt. So he's close there. Again, maybe just half a yard difference as far as yards per attempt go. But I don't see it happening for the Buffalo Bills, for Josh Allen. When it comes to breaking the record, I think Josh Allen can have an amazing season. Again, somewhere between 3,400 and 3,600 yards. You're talking about maybe 600 to 800 rushing yards. A good touchdown to interception ratio to me would be 3.5 to 1. I think that would be a great touchdown to interception ratio. Cut down on the fumbles. Now, fumbles don't count as passing stats, obviously, but the more you hold on to a ball, the more pass attempts you're going to get. The defense is going to give you a shot to make some plays on offense. The defense is going to give you the ball. But if you know anything about the Buffalo Bills offense, they normally try to grind it out. They normally try to play the possession game and win that number, and that's what helps them win the game. You talk about a 1-2 punch of Devin Singletary and Zach Moss in the backfield, and that's why I think it's going to be very hard for Josh Allen to come close to that 4,300 yard mark set by Drew Bledsoe in 2002. But you guys, let me know what you think. Let me know if you think Josh Allen has a chance to throw for over 4,300 yards, or if you're like me and say, no, with so much going on in this offense, a complex offense still run by Brian Daboll, who does not throw the ball as much as some of these other high-power offenses do, that Josh Allen just doesn't have the opportunity to break that mark. But again, let me know what you think in the comment section. Do you think Josh Allen has a chance, or do you think I'm crazy? Also in the comment section, if you would like to see some other type of Could It Happen video. Again, we run these every Monday. As long as we have a topic, we'll definitely do a video. So again, let me know in the comment section. Again, if you haven't subscribed to Believers Talk, hit that subscribe button as we keep you up to date on the Buffalo Bills, on the Buffalo Sabres, and all Buffalo sports. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.